alternative talk radio. Get ready, America, for Deadline Live with your host, Jack Blood. Deadline Live is the daily wrap-up for those too busy in the daily grind to discern and dissect the news. While the so-called mainstream media buries the truth, Jack Blood uncovers it, exposing the lies that our trusted government officials do not want us to know. And now, please welcome Jack Blood.
World order. The vision is a new world order. The vision is a new world order. Come along and tell your sister and your brother.
Tell your sisters, tell your brothers, your mothers, your cousins, your co-workers, people on the street. The vision is a new world order. The eye atop the pyramid is open and awake and just declared war again on yet another country. Thank you for joining us. Deadline Live, I'm Jack Blood. This is Oracle Broadcasting and Affiliates. As always, I'm your radio gun, your narrator. David Icke joins us from somewhere across the pond, a good friend of ours, good friend of this show for many, many years. His new book is must-reading, Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More. David Icke joins us. Thank you, David, for being with us today. Did we lose David again? Why are we having so many problems? David, are you with us? Am I not being... Okay, hold on, folks. We're going to get this for you here somehow, hopefully, one way or another. David, do we have you? Going to give you a little bit more music while we hopefully arrange this for you. Hold on. David, I'm going to have you hold for just 1 second because people are saying that some of what we're saying isn't going out over the air. This is such an easy system to operate, so I can only assume that people don't want you to be heard today. I don't know. I'm going to try to take a quick break with me, and let's try to get this all fixed up. Hold on, folks.
Come along and tell your sister and your brother.
Hello? All right, David, I think we do have you now.
Hello, mate.
Like I said, this system is super easy to operate, so when we have problems, I get very suspicious. I can't help it. David Icke is with us on the show today, and we are looking for your... There they go. They say we're all back on and things are going to be good. For the time being, David, what is it that you just said in the last 5 or 10 minutes that people maybe don't want to hear about the attack on Libya, about how fake this is, about, you know, how this is a complete copy of the run-up into Iraq and how these turned out to be quagmires? David, they told us that this would be a cakewalk in Iraq. They'd be throwing flowers at our feet. Now I'm hearing stories very similar to the stories in Iraq and Gulf War I, that Gaddafi's throwing babies from incubators and people are disappearing from hospitals, and he is not going along with these international decrees that he must capitulate or die. What did you say in the last 5 or 10 minutes that we might have missed? And I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself. You sound a little hoarse today, David, but we got about 8 minutes here. Let's throw that back at the audience.
Right. Well, I don't know where I disappeared, but what I was saying was, if you look back at the run-up to the Iraq War, I many years ago pushed the point back through research where the decision was made to invade Iraq at that time in, 2003, years before it happened. And as evidence has come to light since then, even the mainstream media has pushed back the decision to invade Iraq at that time, when the decision was taken through Bush and Blair, not by them, actually. It's not the way it works, but at least a year. And in the days and hours before the invasion happened, you had Tony Blair in this country saying, we still hope to avoid a military conflict. He knew years before that it was going to happen at that time. And that's what we're seeing here. And, you know, I'm not seeing the unfolding information in America that you're seeing sitting at the moment, sitting here in Britain. But if you watch the scenarios, you had a situation where Saddam Hussein was told, do this or else. And he said there are no weapons of mass destruction. They're not there. And oh no, he's not allowing the inspectors in. People among the inspectors were saying, actually, it's not a problem. We can do it. Because once the decision is made, this is what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what anyone says, what the target says, what the target does, because it's going to happen. They just will not take no for an answer because it's on the movie script. It's at this point in the script, this is going to happen. And that's why it doesn't matter what anyone says, they go ahead anyway. And we are seeing a mirror now, increasingly, it would seem, of what happened in Iraq, because it's the same scenario playing out, the same blueprint. It's the way these guys work.
Yeah. Kissinger, as I mentioned, if we weren't on the air, was actually meeting with Obama just minutes before he gave his war speech in a very serious fashion, threatening the country of Libya with not only, as you mentioned, David Icke, air attacks, but ground attacks. They had mentioned in various confines that tank assemblance would be attacked, that tank movements would be attacked. I mean, this is a full-on, full-scale war, which is undeclared by Congress, and was declared, according to Obama, by the quote-unquote international community for quote-unquote universal rights to stop the quote-unquote iron fist of Gaddafi. That's here in this country, where if there's even the smallest little protest against Lord Obama and Hillary Clinton, that is put down immediately, as was evidence that she was talking to the people of Egypt, and they arrested Ray McGovern right in the middle of the talk.
Exactly. But then again, they are professional hypocrites because they can't tell you the truth or be consistent, because the agenda would fall if they did. What we're seeing now is something I've been writing about for a long time, which is the agenda to attempt to trigger a third world conflict. I don't know if I came over when I was talking about this earlier with the technology, a third world conflict to draw in eventually people like Russia and China into a conflict triggered out of the Middle East. And I've been aware of this was coming for a long time. And indeed, you look at things like the letter of Albert Pike, the major...
Just going to mention that, yeah.
American Freemason, long ago, talking about the three world wars that were coming in a letter to another Illuminati guy called Mazzini. And he talked about the first two wars. We've had those. The third one, he said, was going to be triggered out of the Middle East by a war, a conflict that would get the Zionists and the Islamic world to mutually destroy each other. And what we're seeing now, this is the real, these are the final kind of scenes in this unfolding drama in the Middle East that Kissinger talked about some weeks ago while the Egyptian situation was going. And of course, we're now understanding the massive role that the American embassy played in Egypt for years before these people's revolutions began, preparing to trigger them. Because what we have here, Jack, is genuine rage at oppression and suppression among the peoples of the Middle East who have suffered under these tyrants, supported these royal tyrants in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in the United Arab Emirates and all the rest of it, and Mubarak in Egypt, supported financially when necessary, but certainly supported through weaponry and high-tech military support. These tyrants have been kept in power and are given the means to suppress their people by the American administration under whichever party, by the British administration under whatever party. And now they are seeking to create upheavals in the Middle East as this next stage happens, in which they want to play Israel off against the Arab countries, bring in China, bring in Russia. Europe and America are already being brought in as we're speaking, and play them off in a third world war. That's the scenario. Whether they will pull it off, we'll see. But that's what they want. Been writing for 15 years that this was coming.
To what extent, David, are we sending arms and aid to Al-Qaeda in a place like Libya, who appears to be the most organized point of reference with this resistance?
Well, once again, you know, there were some SAS people, one of the top kind of inner sanctum people within the British military who were arrested in Libya by some of the genuine protesters and thrown out. I mean, these people, only recently, Britain and America, have been working behind the scenes to trigger this for a long, long time. And like I say, when you've got this genuine rage at the oppression and suppression of these Middle Eastern regimes, supported by people like Britain and America, you have the tinderbox to set on fire when you bring in your prepared people to trigger that rage. This is what we've seen. They've created the suppression, which has reached a point of rage and resentment among the people, and then they trigger that rage into protest and tell you it's all a spontaneous protest of the people. Well, not at the trigger point, it's not. They're setting these off all over to create mayhem and upheaval in the Middle East with a very, very sinister agenda at the end of it.
David, we got about 49 seconds here. We're going to go to break and keep David for the next half hour, and I can tell you're tired and you're worn out having to deal with this, but we need you here to get through some of it. The absolute hypocrisy of tyranny, as you pointed out, is in full display. And anyone out there that supported Obama for freedom and for peace, they can't possibly ignore all of this. We're going to take a very quick 3-minute break. David Icke from davidicke.com will be right back with us. We'll also be talking about the situation, the emergency situation in Japan. What's real? What isn't? How did this happen? And where does it go from here? Stay with us. Deadline Live. I'm Jack Blood.